Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our QT Voices in the Gaming Industry panel. For some context, this is Gaucho Gaming's kind of part of the Gaucho Gaming's Pride Week campaign, which is happening starting Monday, and then our last event, which is on Friday, which is our charity stream on this Friday. So stay tuned for that as well on the Twitch if you are interested in supporting the Pacific Pride Foundation, which is a local nonprofit here in Santa Barbara. They support a lot of the queer trans students and community here in the Santa Barbara community. So if you're interested in supporting that, feel free to tune in there at 6 p.m. on Friday. But yeah, super excited to be introducing our panelists, amazing panelists here who volunteered their time to kind of speak on this panel, which I'm super grateful for. But we can do some quick introductions. But my name is Karen. I am the president of Gaucho Gaming, and also I'll be helping moderate this panel. And I would love for the rest of the panelists to just introduce yourselves, your current role in the industry. We'll ask a different question about, a little bit of the history and how you got to where you are, but just your current role and then your favorite game right now or your favorite game of all time, whichever you feel more passionate about. But we can start with Ash.
Ooh,
Nice. Okay,
nice.
amazing. Popcorn to
Cool.
Tara.
Hello. My name is Tara, also known as Riot Yasna. I am the delivery lead on League of Legends at Riot Games, specifically on the Summoner's Rift team. The Summoner's Rift team handles basically all the gameplay that takes place on Summoner's Rift, from runes to summoner spells to epic monsters to game balance. So when you get mad that we nerfed Rengar for the fourth week in a row, you can get mad at me and my team. Um, my favorite game right now is probably Final Fantasy XIV by virtue of how many hours I've put in over the past 2 weeks beating the last tier. We cleared on a Monday. I feel very proud of ourselves. Yeah.
Amazing. And last but not least, Leah.
Hi, my name is Leah. I've been an official caster for Genshin Impact's various events, mostly their card game, Inside the Game, Genius Invocation TCG, for the past couple years. I'm also a content creator and a musician. Um, I've recently had the opportunity to also write some songs for Hoyo Fair, if you're familiar with what that is. Currently, I'm tournament staff for Playfly, and my favorite game right now is TFT.
Amazing. Okay, that's amazing. I didn't know that you also help wrote songs for that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I do a lot. I wear many hats. It's like
Okay.
I have mostly been casting, but I do like a lot of things outside of that as well. So yeah, pretty fun.
Okay, amazing. And we can delve into that with this next question. Um, but this next question here is, can you all share a bit about how you got into the gaming industry and what inspired you to pursue gaming as a career? So we can start with Ash again, if you're okay with that.
All right. Yeah. So for me, the what got me started, I guess, was in 2020, the pandemic. I suppose that one's not really a surprising one. Valorant had just come out early, and I really wanted to get into the competitive scene. I was a lot younger. I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna be a professional player. Um, so I actually snuck on to what would become my university team. I was at community college, so I wasn't at that 4 year yet. And I dove basically headfirst into uni and joined my collegiate esports club. And to make a long story short, I got to put on a great many hats, and that kicked off my professional career.
Mhm. No, for sure. I think collegiate is at least for me, I mean, obviously we're in collegiate right now, but definitely a really, key jump point to professional gaming industry stuff. But yeah, Tara, do you want to go next?
Yeah, mine's certainly a lot longer ago. um, I was actually much closer to becoming a marine biologist than I was to working in games. I wanted to go study fish for the rest of my life, but I played a game called Dragon Age Origins that changed my life pretty much forever. I will avoid spoilers even though it's a super old game, but long story short, the game has a great way of putting every single decision into your hands, and at the very last moment, it took one of the most key pivotal decisions away from me. and I
Ooh.
cried, and I felt really moved by it. And I just thought that if I could be a part of a story that would give people similar feelings or make somebody feel like a fraction of what I was feeling, I'd want to do it for the rest of my life. So I switched college applications literally the next day, got accepted, and didn't look back from there. I really got my start in the games industry. Like, I went to school for game design and development, and over the course of that degree, I did a whole bunch of indie dev stuff. Like, I kickstarted my own company to make card games, successfully shipped it, sold the company, moved on, and used a lot of just like little fun projects that I did on the side to get my first real big gig, working on the Pokemon TCG at a studio in Denver called Direwolf Digital. And that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
No, that's amazing. No, I feel like I think that just shows like there's so many like incoming new people and there's like some veterans in the gaming industry, and it's so good to hear like people who have been here for a while and like their journey too. So thank you for sharing. But yeah, Leah, do you want to share next?
Yeah, it was also kind of an accident for me because I was working as a chemist for a while after I graduated, but I grew up playing games in college. I also joined my collegiate esports team. I was basically on the founding team as mid laner for League of Legends. It was really fun. And I actually continued on to play amateur when I graduated just for fun during the pandemic because there was really nothing else to do. I couldn't go into lab during lockdown. And basically, like while I've been working full time as a chemist, I would spend my time after work, basically like volunteering in different scenes. I'm also a moderator in Genshin's official Discord, and some of the servers I was moderating in ended up being home for the tournaments they were putting on, and I got to help out a lot behind the scenes, just shaping like how everything was going to look and doing like beta test casts and stuff like that. And they're like, "Why don't you come and cast for us?" Like I literally got the message like a week before the LAN, like, "Hey, the content creators we're gonna have on can't make it. Do you want to fly out to LA?" And I'm like, I mean, yes. So I mean, I've just been doing this since then and basically keeping up with my chemistry knowledge and tutoring part-time in the meantime. So yeah, just looking to expand to other titles right now for me, but that's how I got started.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love the fact that you're kind of like you can do so many things and like you're like, and that's super good to hear. Like you part time this and like you're able to still do stuff that you really enjoy. So that's
It's
wonderful.
it's a blessing and a curse because like as a freelancer, you don't have that job security that you do when you are working full time. So you kind of have to do like whatever people need to do. So it's definitely a blessing and a
Yeah.
curse for sure.
No, for sure. I think
Yeah.
that's definitely like kind of same thing with collegiate. Like, oh, we're full time students, but we also are full time like running this club too in
Yeah.
some way. So definitely
Yeah.
feel that. Amazing. Okay, amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
For this next question, and because this is a queer trans panel, I'm switching gears a little bit, but I do want to talk about representation in the industry because I think that is a pretty, I guess, like, I think recently it's been better, but I would love to hear what y'all's thoughts are. But what does authentic representation in the gaming industry look like for y'all, whether that's in games, like through characters, storylines, things like that, or even within companies themselves? So I'd love to start with Tara on this one.
Sure. I mean, it's a super broad question because it's just as broad as there are many people in the world. But to me, it always comes from seeking a place of authenticity. Like, you can't get authentic representation without authenticity in the first place from the people who are involved. So that involves creating a culture where you can be authentically you, no matter what kind of viewpoint that is. So making sure that it is an okay place for women and for trans folks and queer folks and for people of different races, like everything. It's not just about LGBTQIA plus stuff, it's about everything. That first place that I worked at, that the Pokemon one, I was one of 4 women in a 120-person company, and it did not feel very welcoming. So things are a lot different now in some ways. In some places they aren't. Your mileage may vary, but it's seeking those authentic perspectives, making them feel comfortable to be heard, and then actively seeking them out when it comes to something like that. One of my favorite things to share is we have a champion that was released last year in League called Melio. And
Mhm.
Melio was developed super heavily with our Riot inclusivity group internally called Riot Unidos, which is all of our Latin American and South American cultures all together, and they were really heavily used to like help gauge, is Melio coming from an informed and authentic place that resonates without being a parody of the culture and without being like, oh, we just transported Latin America into Runeterra. It's like we're trying to let them see something that's diverse and representative of themselves in the character without, like, with making it authentic, but without making it patronizing. So having those authentic perspectives around and making them safe to be heard is the summary, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think definitely having the representation when you like, if you are going to implement anything to a game, having those voices, help inform how that creator is managed is super important. But I'd love to popcorn it to Leah.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this question, and I actually have a pretty simple answer. Like, for me, it just is about allowing me to exist as myself. Like, for example, when I was casting, one small thing I would do is wear like a blazer and pants instead of like a dress, that might be expected from someone that is like kind of feminine, appearing. And I always felt comfortable. I wasn't really questioned on it. And like, I felt like I could have my own gender expression without people like really looking into why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you dressing like a man or whatever? Like, it was just, I was just allowed to do it. No one really thought twice about it. And that was really important for me. Like, just having spaces where I could just be myself without people nitpicking why or trying to figure out what role I am or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like having people read you and having to like questioning you kind of thing is like super like at least like for within SB and collegiate, it's like not like luckily I think we've beautiful community for within the game SB, but definitely like an issue when people question like why do you wear this? Why are you presenting this way? For sure. Okay, but I love the popcorn to Ashcon.
Yeah, so the authentic representation aspect for me, authentic representation feels like conversations. It feels like connecting with the people genuinely and directly. Tara put it very well when it comes to seeing examples with teams actually collaborating with those people that are gathering together to represent their culture in a way that is true and that is accurate. For me individually, representing myself comes down to, what conversations people are able to have with me about my gender and asking me about how I see it, and you know, kind of almost having a measure of the sociological understanding of like race, gender, etc. Because I feel like at the end of the day, we're all human, and sometimes people will make assumptions about you. But if you're able to have the conversation and come to an understanding, then I think that's the best way to keep representation authentic in gaming and anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, conversations is a beautiful way to put it as well. Like being able to have those conversations without like tiptoeing around it is also a good call out too. Okay, amazing. I'd like to kind of shift in the same kind of vein, but just in your kind of gaming careers or otherwise, has there been like a particular moment in a gaming space, whether that's you were at an event, in a specific community you were in, really anything? It's pretty broad, but that influenced how you view and feel belonging in the gaming industry. And we can start with Leah.
Yeah, so there is a large LGBTQ population of gamers online. So I feel like online spaces have been really important in helping me find like a sense of comfort and safety and etc., especially during like really turbulent times, because I was going to college during uh you know times, and we're going through times now. So yeah, you know what I mean. But I think it's just really important to be finding like-minded people. One thing that was super important for me was one of my co-casters was also trans, and I just had that solidarity there. And also just finding people like the Hoyoverse games have a lot of like queer coded relationships, I guess. And so there's a lot of like people that really like those things that are also queer, and I've like made a pretty decent sized community, just exploring all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like within the gaming industry, I feel like for people who aren't part of it, like there is a huge like queer like LGBTQ plus community that people might not actually know of, and being able to find that is like super fulfilling. So I'm glad that you shared that. But yeah, I'd love to popcorn it to Ash.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have two separate stories, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah, so we'll go from bad to good, I suppose. One of the stories I had was, for the longest time as a caster, I was trying to break through in the Valorant scene through Game Changers. It was a scene, obviously, that I'm passionate about, being queer myself, but I am mask presenting, and so a lot of the femme and non-binary casters that were managing some of these, especially collegiate leagues, um, they didn't really want to give me that chance. And it wasn't until that
Mm.
I got the opportunity to speak to one of them at a mutual online event, ran through one of the orgs. Shout out to Evil Geniuses for being super, super great allies. Um, they That's when one of the casters, talked to me and realized like, oh yes, Ashgon is indeed non-binary. It's not like quote unquote fake. And that was like a good moment for me, but it's also a reality that, if you are an ally or if you're someone that wants to be more welcoming, definitely, have those conversations, because in the Val community, that isn't to say there haven't been any bad apples, but always, always great to make sure that everyone feels safe. And in a positive realm, everyone in person at the Riot Games arena are very, very queer friendly. We've had like queer Magic the Gathering nights. We've had tabletop sessions, Baldur's Gate 3. Like we're all friendly folk, and that's been a super welcome experience. And we're always happy to see more people coming in, especially just last winter we had the Spotlight series for the Game Changers and VCT Tier 1 players mixing. That was super fun to see everyone show up and show out for the community.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I remember like I ran into you during our VCT trip as part of Gaucho Gaming, and then you also mentioned something about how like being part of the event staff at Riot has been so welcoming, has been like so queer friendly, and I'm glad that's like something that like you were able to have, especially. So I'm glad that you shared that as well. But yeah, last but not least, Tara, if you have anything.
Yeah. Every studio I've been at for longer than a year, I've either formed or been a part of the leadership for the LGBTQIA plus community group. So like I feel like there is a burden of taking the first step that lives on some of our
Mhm.
more veteran folks. Like it is kind of up to us to make a space in the industry for folks who, are either like just starting to come out or not sure that it's a great place. When people hear that I'm in the gaming industry and I'm lesbian, they're like, oh, that's got to be really difficult, doesn't it? And I actually completely disagree. I think the gaming industry is one of the best places to be for queer folks.
Mhm.
And like again, your mileage may vary. There have been some horror stories, and like Riot is no exception. It was one of the first things that I asked about when I got interviewed at Riot. I was like, hey, can we talk about the Kotaku article? And rather than being like, oh, it was overblown, it was bad, like everyone talked about it. Every single person in the interview panel was like, yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the things we've changed. Let's talk about what it's really like. And that made me feel so much better. Um, so, sorry, back to the original point. People making a space for it, and to really talk about a specific instance that made me feel like getting into carving a space in the games industry. I think it was actually that first studio when I walked in. It was like, cool, how many other women are on the team? 4, including you. And it was like, cool, good news. Never have to wait for the bathroom. Awesome. Bad news. There's only 4 of us, and I don't work with any of them. And, understanding how isolating that could feel, it really encouraged me to try and actively carve out spaces so that that doesn't happen again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, thank you for speaking on that, because yeah, I think building those spaces is actually super important. That's actually kind of leading into our next question here, which is what helped you find your people in the gaming space, and I'm not too sure what the viewership is out there right now on the stream, but either in collegiate spaces or in the professional world or just like post grad or just adult life, do you have any advice to give to others who are also looking for that kind of support, that kind of community? And we can start with Ash.
Oh, was that passed to me?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Um, I think when it came to, I think when it came to finding the people, that is actually a tough one. It felt like a one olive branch extended, and then it branched out from there. I was very lucky to meet one of my now super close friends, Ash Crandall. They do press at the arena, and they were the first person to really like talk to me and introduce me to the rest of the community around. And I feel like that was the starting point for myself where I got to find people in person. I think online, I want to say it's a little bit easier to find those who are like minded, but, you know, I'm a comm studies major. I'm someone who just enjoys human interaction in person. You know, I can sit on my computer, but I can't do it all day anymore like when I was like 14, 15. So I gotta have people to hang out with. And I think for me, it's once you find that first person and you get into um that third space as we call it, you know, you can immediately start grouping around and inviting more people. And that's how you create a safer space where, you know, you get to create your own support.
Yeah, no, I think like the olive branch kind of branching out definitely like makes sense for sure. But I'd love to pass it to Tara.
Yeah, I'm actually the opposite. I'm weirdly a producer that's an introvert. I didn't start this way. I was a really big extrovert, and then the pandemic ruined me. So I'm very much an introvert now. So, like, my introvert's guide to finding people that you connect with, um, for me, it's a lot of like be yourself. You know, it's like as like we're talking a lot about like authenticity and like showing up and finding your people. Like to do that, you just kind of have to be you. Like you don't need to be someone you're not to find your folks because they will find you. You know, if you're an introvert, you can get adopted very easily by folks. So be yourself. Additionally, also just like think this is going to sound really basic, but like think about others. You know, I think I find that the people that I have the hardest time with interacting with, both professionally and personally, are the ones that are just so focused on who they are and what they've done and talking about themselves. And like, well, it makes it easy to talk to them because you just get them talking about themselves and they go off. Like, understanding that when you're interacting with somebody it's a two-way street and that you if you show up and be just as interested in them as you know you hope that they're interested in you, that's how you can form really tight relationships with almost anybody.
Mm. No, that's a super good call. And I'm as a fellow introvert, I also appreciate the advice because I'm also like, oh, do I need to like I don't know if I need to like put on a face to like, you know, bring to an event or something like that. And
Yeah,
ultimately it doesn't feel like who I am. So I
I definitely
appreciate that
have like
comment.
the producer team leader persona occasionally, but I don't feel the need to take that outside of meetings and stuff. And then when I come home, I can, you know, recharge from all of it.
Yes. No, for sure. Recharging is very important. Okay, amazing. And then I pass it on to Leah.
Yeah, so I think what Tara was saying at the previous question is actually super important. Like, carving out spaces where you feel comfortable is so important when you're in like a minority group of some kind. Um, like not just related to like LGBTQ stuff, but you know, just any kind of minority group. You need to have places where you can actually relate to the people around you because it gets very isolating quickly. Um, so, and especially because I grew up in very rural places, it's really hard to find other LGBT people in those rural places. I didn't have the best experience at college, like finding people that were like me. And so again, as I was saying earlier, kind of falls back on like online spaces. You know, there's like a huge culture around like writing queer fan fiction and like drawing art and stuff like that. And that's like one way to like express your gender, your sexuality that a lot of young adults and also adults my age and older still explore, like use for themselves to figure things out, even not just to like connect with other people, but also to explore their own identities. Um, and yeah, I also think what Tara was saying, like listening to others, like it can't just be about yourself. I feel like inclusivity is so important. Um, like just because you have these experiences doesn't mean it's going to be universal for everyone you're interacting with. And like if you're making a safe space for yourself, you need to make sure it's safe for everyone else as well. And you need to listen to their needs and stuff like that, especially if you have to be the one carving it out. Like a good leader is someone that listens and follows. So that's something I really believe in and try to practice. But yeah, basically kind of just going off what Tara was saying, I think she had really good points.
No, for sure. No, honestly, super well put for everyone, and definitely like online communities. As much as people, it's a scary place out there, for sure. The online community, but there definitely is little spaces that I think a lot of people have found. You know, their community, the lot of close friends from that as well. So I'm glad
I've been
that
pretty lucky, I think.
yeah, no, for sure. And I think Tara mentioned it too. Like there's definitely a group of the gaming community that's not very inclusive, but there definitely is a huge queer trans like community in the gaming space, and I think that's something that's so wonderful about it as well.
It's certainly interesting working on League of Legends. It's a game that I've been playing basically since season one, but it definitely has the biggest reputation for a toxic community by far.
I'm glad you said it.
Particularly, yeah, particularly if you have the word riot in your name when you go and play online, you get some very interesting interactions with people.
Yes,
I'm sure.
I can imagine.
Hmm.
No, no, for sure. Okay, well, we're kind of reaching the end of our panel. I'll say this again, but I want to thank everyone, like thank all the panelists for spending the time on a Wednesday evening, a very random evening to speak on this panel. So that the last question that we have here is just really just a space if you want to mention anything, shout anything out, and where can people find you to stay connected. But yeah, Tara, if you have anything that you wanna mention or where can people find you?
Um, so I have a Twitter. I only use it for developer stuff. When I occasionally write items in flavor text, I sometimes post about it there, but I'm not super active on there. I think the only plug I'm going to make is just a plug to be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Particularly right now, things can be really hard for a lot of folks in our community. And if, you're fortunate to not be one of the people who's super heavily affected by it, like make sure that you're extending that kindness to others and to yourself. Like it's rough out there, folks. So be kind in online spaces, be kind to yourself, be kind when nobody's looking, because that's what makes the world a better place.
Oh, wonderfully said. It's a lot of policies and stuff are pretty hostile right now for us. So definitely a good call out. Yeah, for Leah, do you have anything?
I agree with Tara. I mean, you can find me at Windflower Leah, but I am mostly posting about Hoyo game lore, so I'm not entirely sure if you want to be following me there. But yeah, I feel like just be kind. I really do agree with that sentiment. I feel like if there's one thing you can take away from this panel, it's that like you will find kindness if you're also kind to others, um, and you will find your people in that process. So
No, wonderfully said. And then last but not least, Ashkan, if you want, where can people follow you? Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, for myself, I want to make myself open as a resource. My tag is just Ashkan Hojati. If you use Instagram or Twitter, or whatever other platform, you can reach me on it. And my DMs are always open, especially if you're in collegiate, especially if you're queer and you're looking for a place to like talk about things, or you just want to ask a question. I'm not too deep in the industry myself. I just graduated last year, but I feel like creating community is all about helping the person who's right behind you and getting help from the person ahead of you. And I think that I want to continue that cycle. And to that effect, I'm going to leave an actionable item, I guess, for anyone who's watching. Please look into the Queer Women of Esports. They are a 503c nonprofit. They helped me a lot. They had me as a mentee on this year. I hope to be a mentor in their next arc. They've done a lot. They've provided cash. They've provided projects to grow your skill set and mentors to meet with. So much is available to you if you just search for it and ask for the help. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so I'd love to see you guys, survive, not just survive, but thrive, especially in the current conditions.
Mhm. No,
That's a
thank you,
great
Ashka, for
point.
sharing.
Yeah.
I'd like
Sorry,
to
go
plus
ahead.
one that. One of the reasons why I do this, despite being an introvert, is I feel like I have a duty to do it to the next generation. Like I feel like if I had seen somebody like myself in this kind of position, it would have made things a lot easier for me. So big plus one to that. Like shoot me a friend request on Twitter. You can also find me on Discord. It's just Yasna with no apostrophe. Always happy to answer questions about the gaming industry, give some insight, even just, talk shop about what we do and how we do it. Always happy to help folks, especially in the community.
The same here. If you have any questions for me, because I do a lot of different things, it's not just casting. If you have any questions about any of it, I am always down to help, answer.
Amazing. And thank you for shouting out Kurman Esports or QWE. I was a mentee. So I felt like, I want to say 2 years ago or a year ago, I don't even know at this point, but they do amazing work. And I was able to do like an incredible capstone project as part of it. I was paired with an amazing mentor, and I still keep in touch with, and I was connected with a whole like community of other people that still support me and I support them. Like we're in a group chat, and every time something good happens, we're like, good job. Like we're like, congrats. And it's like really wonderful. So definitely shout them out. But yeah. Okay, wonderful. And I think that concludes our panel. Thank you all so much for being part of this. It was so wonderful to hear all of y'all's experiences, your thoughts. It was really amazing. And if there's any UCSB students right now, tomorrow we have a fighting game night as part of our Pride Week event. We're playing Guilty Gear. So if you are interested in that, we have that tomorrow. And then on Friday, we have our charity stream supporting the Pride Civic Foundation in the local Santa Barbara nonprofit here. So you can tune in, same channel here at 6 p.m. Pacific time. But a big shout out and so much love to all these panelists for volunteering their time here today. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week and a wonderful evening. But yeah, thank you all so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye, everyone.